Hey, welcome to Briva Creative. Today I'm going to walk you guys through our process of using SketchUp to create 3D printed awesome jewelry. Check it out. Alright, so we are going to get started. First we have to model what we want. I like to use SketchUp, and there's a handy Sketchup Online portal that you can use. It's completely free, and the only reason I use SketchUp really is because that it is free and I am so used to using it with a architecture background that I have. So right away we're just going to work in one plane, like a flat plane, and just get some lines down. So we're just going to copy these lines up, and I'm like basing it off of a lava lamp that I have that I'm looking at right now, just to get the proportions right. And I'm noticing that it's a little bit wide. So we're going to select it all and then just scale it down to the appropriate size, and that looks about good. I'm happy with that. So I'm just drawing this little center line in here and cutting off a little chunk of the top, just to get the proportions right again. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. So we're gonna move on, and now that we have the base shape made, we can get a little creative on how we want this lava lamp laid out. So I'm just laying out the little top dome. What I'm thinking is that it's going to be kind of an outline of a lava lamp, and then on the inside you'll have like the gooey liquid inside. And so I'm going to create an outline where the liquid is, so that you see the base and the top of the lava lamp, and it's connected by this outer shell. I'm just dropping the ball of the lava lamp a little bit. So one of the issues that I always have with SketchUp is that when you're working with curves, the curves in SketchUp like to be on a singular plane. And what I mean by that is, if you're drawing curves just in the open, like without a plane underneath it, it's going to want to snap to weird places and not get the curve that you want and be really frustrating. So I like to draw just like, if I'm drawing on a place with no plane, I like to put a plane there, draw my curve, and then delete the part of the plane that I don't need. Another silly little thing about SketchUp is that it doesn't like small curves. So when your object is very small, it has limitations on the size of the curve that you can make and achieve. So what I do sometimes, I ran into that with this. So what I'm doing is I'm just scaling up this lava lamp huge so that I can model the curve how I want it to be modeled. And then once I have the curve done, I'm going to scale it back down to the original size. It's kind of a weird workaround, but if you're running into this, it's definitely a lifesaver. And we're just gonna get these curves drawn in. For the bubbles, I'm gonna have like a bubble at the top and a bubble at the bottom and a little floaty bubble in the middle. So we'll see how that goes. So far I'm liking the shape of this one. And so I noticed this bubble was a little bit smaller than I would like, so I'm going to increase it by just clicking it, clicking the scale button, and just dragging it out to where I feel like it should be. And right about there is good. Next I'm gonna adjust the curve just a little bit, and you can just grab any of these curves if you wanna just give it a little bit of a tweak, and use the move command and just move that curve where you want it to go, and all the other curves will most likely follow. Now that we're done with the curves, it is time to bring it back down to size. So I'm just drawing a line that indicates how wide I want the actual earring to be. And I'm just scaling it to that dimension. And double checking the height as well, just to make sure it's not too tall. And we're going to erase some of these extraneous lines. I really love the erase tool in SketchUp. It erases the lines but not the planes. And with SketchUp, you always create extra lines that always need to be erased. So it's very helpful having that tool. So what I'm gonna do is have a solid, non-transparent PLA plastic on the outside, and then on the inside I'm going to have a transparent PLA, but it'll still be a color. It'll just be like a little bit translucent, so you can see through it, just like if you shine a light behind it, you'll still be able to see through it, which will be really cool, and I think will imitate that lava lamp effect really well. So one of the things with 3D printers is that there's always a tolerance. So if you're fitting two pieces of 3D printed plastic together, you need to create some sort of buffer offset in order for those pieces to actually fit, because there is a very slight tolerance where if you don't have an offset, what's going to happen is the pieces just won't fit together. It'll be really frustrating, and you'll have to go back and redo it. And it depends on the printer what the offset is too. It also depends on the type of plastic that you use. I'm using all the same kind of filament, PLA plastic, from the same manufacturer. So I've worked with it before, so I know how it works and what kind of offset is needed to get the pieces to fit together. Right here I think I'm doing like a 32nd of an inch offset, which I completely messed up and had to redo because that was way too big. I think more like a 1/28 offset is like perfect for the printer that I have and the plastic that I have. Now it is time to get extrudy. So I'm going to just use the little extrude button. It's super simple, just pulls any flat shape into a 3-dimensional shape. I also like to do the offsetting before I extrude and make everything 3-dimensional. It just makes things a lot easier and reduces the amount of lines that you're going to have to delete. I'm going to make the little middle portion a little bit thinner so that there's a little bit of a depth between the main outline of the lava lamp and the middle portion. And since lava lamps have a conical base, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add like a little bit of a line here, and then just with the move tool just drop that down a little bit to have a little bit of a slope in either direction. Now that we have our three little pieces, we are going to export that as an STL file. That stands for stereolithography, and all that means is that it's going to, our slicer program that we are going to use to make the 3D model that the 3D printer can read. So once we have our STL, we can then load it into whatever slicer program you have. This one came with the 3D printer that we bought. Kira is another one that you can use that's super popular. It's free and works just as well as this one. And here is just a whole bunch of print settings that you can have. Since this is such a small object, I'm going with a fine print setting instead of like your bulkiest setting. I probably should have done these test prints, not as fine print, but as more of a draft print. They would have taken a lot less time, but hey, live and learn. So we are now going to export this file as a G-code file. That's the type of file that a 3D printer can read. And yeah, that's about it. Send it to your 3D printer and let it do the rest of the work. I know this print is going to need some work, so I'm just printing with whatever plastic is loaded in the machine. It's the same brand and type of plastic that I'll use on the final, so we can use it to gauge how well the pieces fit together. As mentioned earlier, I messed up on the offset on this first print, so you can see there's way too much gap between these two pieces. We want to get them tight enough where they actually hold together in place without glue before we go and add the glue. And here is print number 2. We got these two pieces fitting together well, but the little blob in the middle still needs some work. Also, I realized that I totally forgot to add a little earring clip in the first draft, which is kind of important since these are earrings. It took a few tries to get that middle blob fitting well, but we got it, and now it is time to use our real filament and get that loaded in. And you know, there's just something about changing filament and seeing the old color come out and blend with the new color for the first few inches that I just love. I guess it's just the small things in life. I decided to print the largest piece with a raft this time because some of the corners were lifting up on me, so the raft just keeps it consistent and makes it a lot prettier. And now for that middle piece, I am going with a translucent red. I think this is going to look really cool when it's backlit. Just a quick test fit to make sure that we can get it all together. It's a little bit of a struggle getting them to fit together, but that is exactly what we want. We want it to be as tight as we can get it. And there we go. You can start to see the light shining through here just a little bit through the red, and it's getting that warm glow look that lavas always have. Super happy with how this is turning out. Time for the glue up. Now there's a lot of glues that you can use for something like this. I just happen to have this stuff laying around. It's called Testor's Cement for metal and wood. I'll put a link in the description. Notice how it doesn't say anything about that it being for plastic. Yeah, it's weird, but I actually like this stuff better than like a super glue or other plastic specific glues. Maybe I'm just crazy, but I've had nothing but good vibes with this glue. It's similar to like a super glue, except it's a little bit more runny and takes a little bit longer to dry. It stinks to high heaven, so make sure to work in a ventilated area. So there's a little bit of a rough patch on this one from the raft that I put on the red portion. I think I need to work on the print settings just a little bit before I put them on our Etsy store, but I can give this first pair to Eva. I give her all of the misprints and the test prints, which she is always thrilled to receive, and I only sell the nicest looking ones. So I guess it's kind of a win-win for me. Well, I dug around our house for 30 minutes looking for pliers that I normally use for this, and no luck. And with my stubby fingers, I just couldn't get the jumper rings on to save my life. So Eva jumped in here and helped me across the finish line. I'm really happy with this pair and definitely looking forward to perfecting the print a little bit and then putting them up on our Etsy store.